What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 20 of the Does It Doom podcast. My name is Steve Reese, and in this episode, I had the opportunity to chat with the Riff Lord himself, Kirk Windstein. We got into the nitty-gritty details of his guitar rigs in Crowbar, Down, and Kingdom of Sorrow. We chatted about his riff writing process, his approach to writing his signature Doom harmonies, the solo record, the brand new unreleased Crowbar record, his reunion with Down, and more. This is another absolutely killer episode, and I know you're going to love it. So let's get to it. What's up, Kirk? Thank you so much for doing the podcast here today, man. I certainly appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So this past week, you and I spent an hour together doing an online live video lesson for The Lasting Dose by Crowbar. It was a really great time. I had a great time getting to learn that song directly from you. We did it via Facebook Messenger video chat. And I'm curious to just, for everybody out there who might not know what you're doing, maybe you could let everybody know about the guitar lessons you've been given.
Absolutely, man. And I totally dug the lesson with you. I'm doing one-on-one, just personal lessons, Facebook Messenger chat, as you said, video chat. Learning any Crowbar, Kingdom of Sorrow, Down stuff you may want to learn. It's $40 an hour for one-on-one. Usually I go a little longer than an hour anyway. And I've been having a blast doing it. I did two earlier tonight, and just enjoying it, and it's really helping things out and giving me some sanity. Today is day 41 for the wife and I with the quarantine, self-quarantine thing. So it's been positive, man. It really has. So yeah, everybody that's done it, I really appreciate it, and looking forward to some more repeat lessons and some new students or guys to hang with, jam, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I mean, I just contacted you via Facebook Messenger. I guess just went on your Facebook page and hit you up there. And I'll definitely have a link to that and your email address down below, because I'm definitely going to at least do one or two more, because it's just it's a great time to just sit down. I worked on The Lasting Dose a bit this week, and I think I got it really good. And it's just
killer, bro.
To learn it directly from you is just and know I'm playing it right, but just hearing like the backstory, you kind of went. We chatted a bit through as you would throughout.
Sure.
Talked about how you wrote that song and the backstory, and I was asking about the intro harmony, because I just love your Doom harmonies in general. That's what we've always called them, whatever Doom harmonies. It's like the Crowbar thing, and I was wondering if you could explain, kind of as you did to me, like how you come up with those harmonies. Sometimes it's two different guitar parts and a different bass part, and kind of how you put that all together.
Usually it is two different guitar parts and a bass part that make a three-part harmony. What I do is I come up with, I'll call it like the root, the root riff or whatever of the harmony. And I'll come up with a melody first with that. And then normally what I like to do a lot is have one guitar ascend on the main riff, going up, while the other one will start higher and kind of come back down, descending, down lower on the down the fretboard. And there's with the bassing involved as well, on having its own harmony. There's always a little magic spot where all three together hit some weird chord or something, and it's excuse me, it's like magic. So I'm totally self-taught by ear. I don't know any theory or any technical stuff or any of that. So I like to think, without sounding cocky or anything, I like to think that the harmonies I come up with are original and different, because I don't know what a fifth or this or that is, while writing the harmonies. I just go by ear, and I try to just do something original, that I dig, that sounds good. And been lucky enough so far that it's been working for 30
Yeah,
years.
written some great ones, man. And I was interested to hear that it just kind of comes together in your head, right? Like you almost write them all at once, kind of, you hear it in your head, I guess.
I do. Like when I write the original root, the main passage, I already kind of hear something that the guitar is going to do. I won't say I hear all three at once, but I definitely hear the two guitars together, and then I write the bass line normally underneath. Now on the new Crowbar record that's coming up, Shane Wesley, our bassist, I just let him do his thing, and while Matt and I were doing the harmony stuff, Shane really came up with some great bass lines underneath on his own. He kind of, just by learning some of the older songs, he kind of knew where to go with it, and it really ended up, coming out amazing. And of course, Matt, solid as a rock, and amazing as well. So we're really looking forward to the release of the new Crowbar, which is complete and already turned into the label.
That's
So
awesome.
we're the whole world's turned upside down right now, but
Right.
we're still shooting for a September release. And it's really a killer record. I love it. It's got, honestly, it's a lot of harmonies, since we're talking about that.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot of harmonies, but it's got a lot more doomy riffs. To me, it's like we only have like one proper fast song where it's one of our more upbeat, hardcore type Motorhead speed, I call it, type tunes. We've only got one like that, and we really, on the whole record, on all 10 tracks, there's only a few, maybe besides that one tune. There's only maybe two other fast, what I would consider fast, two or three other fast
Right.
riffs on the whole record. So it's kind of a throwback, but a modern, more mature touch on it, from way back.
Sounds
So
awesome.
it's yeah, man, it really is. We're all super super happy with the way it came out. The production's amazing, again, from Dwayne Semino. Guitar tone's amazing, but the songs themselves are great, and I'm really happy. It's really one of the only Crowbar records, um, that I'm really happy with everything from, like, every riff. I'm happy with the tones, with the production, with the lyrics, with the vocal, the way I sang, the whole 9 yards. So I'm really, I'm really just loving it, man. To be honest, I really am.
So you've written so many killer riffs over the years, just like riff after riff. Where do the riffs come from, and what is your songwriting process kind of like?
I don't know where the riffs come from. I just kind of pick up a guitar, I hear something in my head. Maybe I'll throw around like a tempo in my head, or a feel, a groove type thing, and then just work on it a little bit. And no, normally what I do is, I come up with, like to me, and I first learned this really probably when Anselmo was producing the Crowbar self titled, our second record. He kind of taught me. I remember us doing Existence as Punishment, which had about four or five different riffs in it at the time. And at the end of the song, he came to band rehearsal after we were done playing it. He kind of looked, and he's like, fellas, you want me to be honest? And we're like, well, yeah. And he goes, well, you got one good riff in this fucking song, which ended up being the beginning of the main riff, the bow, down, down,
Yeah.
down, down. So basically that riff was already in the song with the harmonies and all. And he said, look, I don't have any songs that start out with bass. Why don't you start this one with bass, and we'll just build from there? So he really kind of helped arrange it, and we threw the other riffs in the trash, and they were actually never used again. I couldn't remember one of them for $1 million. But it kind of, it's a two riff song. It kind of really started where now, like, my mentality is, if I write one killer riff, or one of the other guys comes up with one killer riff, I consider it a song. I'm like, we can write an entire song around this one killer riff, and that's the way it's been going now. I looked at something the other day. I think so far with Crowbar, and this has nothing to do with any riffs I've written with Down, Kingdom of Sorrow, or even my solo record. Um, so far with Crowbar, I think there's 126 songs, and now we
Wow.
have 10 more, so it's 136. So it's a lot of fucking riffs.
Yeah.
But it's gotten to the point where, yeah, if we have one killer, we call it the money riff, one killer riff, then we were able to just put the song together around that, that riff.
That's a pretty cool mentality, man. And I think people can learn a lot from that, probably.
Well,
Just
it takes the pressure off of writing a lot, because if you're able to just come up with that one main killer riff, and the longer you do it, and the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it, of course. But if you come up with that one main riff, then the pressure's off. Like, to me, it's like I feel, even if it's not my riff, if one of the other guys, I'm like, hey, that's killer, man. Let's do a song around that riff. And it kind of takes the pressure off. I mean, we're the type of band where we can do, two, three, four riffs tops, and we're fine with that. But like uh, backtracking to what I just said about Phil, showing me that. Um, when you really get down to it and think about a lot of the Pantera stuff, if you take a song like Mouth for War, or a song like Walk, or whatever, a lot of them are, you take away, I'm not talking about the guitar solo section, which a lot of times will have a different riff underneath, but the basic meat and potatoes of the song is just two or three riffs, and it's brilliant, So
yeah.
I really learned a lot with that, and I've used that approach and that mentality ever since, shit, we were probably writing the self-titled back in about 92. So yeah, like the last 28 years, that's been my approach to writing songs, whether even with Kingdom of Sorrow, whatever it might be, um, and I did the same approach, of course, with the solo record. A lot of those songs are just two or three simple riffs, and it just works, to me.
And with the solo Dream Emotion, that was a great record. I really liked it. What kind of made you go that direction? What made you decide, like, okay, rather than taking some of them and putting them on Crowbar records, kind of as the whole thing wouldn't have made a Crowbar record, but like, what made you take that step and make a solo record?
I've been thinking about it for a really long time, and the time was just right. It was like we were touring so much with Crowbar, but I had a little break, and I said, you know what, I want to do this solo thing. So it actually took about 2 years, like literally, exactly 2 years almost, to complete the whole record. So, I'd write like a song or two and lay them down with Dwayne, and then come back, a couple months later, write a song or two, whatever, and never really listened to the material at all. And then as we were finishing a record up, we said, okay, let's give it a listen, and we listened to it from top to bottom, with the running order and everything, and I was like, man, this is 1,000 times better than I ever dreamt that it would be. I'm really, really happy and proud of
Yeah,
the
it's a
record.
great record.
It came out great. I mean, the thing is, the initial idea was an acoustic album, just me and an acoustic guitar, and I'm not, I like that idea, but the record label is also like, look, we you can do that, do what you want to do. They always give me complete, artistic freedom, and they really believe in the band and me. But they were like, you might want to try just, whatever, making it a little more involved than just an acoustic record. I mean, that's been done before. It's been done well by many, many people. But I thought about it. I said, yeah, it would be a lot more interesting, I think, if I take a different approach to it, which I did. So, it was just, it's very simple, but it ended up just being, to me, really magical. It's very
Absolutely.
emotional. It's got a lot of feel. It's real breathy, and it's also got a good dark, doom type thing with it as well. The vibe wise, it's definitely got the Crowbar vibe. Of the darker stuff, and the harmonies and all are really, some of them are almost major key pretty, and then they'll turn into something dark and
Which
more
almost makes
sinister
it
sounding.
darker at times.
Exactly. Especially when you combine the two, when you go from like a beautiful, major key type thing, and then all of a sudden it turns into something sad.
Yeah,
It's the best of
effective.
both worlds, really.
Will you do any of those? Like, do you see doing any of those songs live with Crowbar? Have you thought about that at all? Or
No, not at all. I mean, it's not a band. It's me and Dwayne. He's a drummer and keyboard player, and he helps me arrange all the stuff, kind of. Sometimes I would show up with like one. Sometimes I would have no ideas and just come up with a little idea in my head on the way to the studio and do it, and then he would kind of help me arrange it or whatever. Like, honestly, with the solo record, if there was another band member, it would honestly be Dwayne. But it just worked out great. It was never a time that it wasn't just me and him in the studio.
Right.
For the most part, but no, I don't see it. I thought about doing because the initial reaction and the reviews and everything was so positive, which was a wonderful thing. But I honestly don't see me doing any of the material live with definitely not with Crowbar, but even with a solo band. Maybe one show, here in New Orleans at some point in time, which would be a lot of work, but well worth it. If I could pull
Sure.
it off, or we could pull it off, whoever would be with me in the band. But it's not a band, so it's kind of
Right.
I'm happy, because now I mean I'm looking at a situation of potentially not even touring for the whole rest of the year. So I'm like, uh, you know, I started the solo record in 2000, actually 2017. So
Wow.
if I'm in a situation, I've thought about doing another solo record. We discussed a couple other possibilities. I mean, Jamie Johnston and I have just casually discussed potentially doing a Kingdom of Sorrow record if we're all unable to tour. Um, so we don't know what the future holds. We're living day by day and hoping and praying and trying to be positive and trying to stay healthy and really just take it from there. But I mean, if it's a situation where I can't tour, well, I can write and
Yeah.
with the I mean shit would worst comes to worst, not that it would bring in any not that it would help us out financially right now, but I mean even Crowbar, man, we could begin writing stuff as well,
Sure.
which would be a first because we've never actually had like songs to go back on and say, hey man, we got those 4 killer songs that we demoed, you know. So we're almost halfway through writing the next record, but it's like let's take it day by day. Let's get this Crowbar out, and let's see what's happening. I mean, we're holding on, to a thread basically of hope, but hoping that because Crowbar's not, we're not a band that would headline them. I mean, with outside of New Orleans and overseas in different areas, we're not the type of band that would headline a bigger venue. So we're totally open if it's possible. If the government opens up nationwide, or even certain
Right.
states
Right.
open up, like the really small gatherings, 150, 200 cap people, even if the venue's bigger, you just cap the attendance at that.
Sure.
And
Yep.
we're totally into the idea of attempting that if it looks viable. And also, I mean, I've told Jamie and the booking agent knows. I mean, I've talked to the guys in the band. I've talked to my wife, and it's like we're not. I would never do it right now, but we're not afraid to try to be one of the first bands out there to get our feet wet and just see what happens. I mean, it's worth a shot to try to
Yeah.
get
Of course.
something. People are going to be absolutely starved, in
Already
4 or
are.
5 months from now. Exactly. I mean, it's already been a couple of months, but we're kind of looking at, hey guys, let's be realistic here. Let's see where we're at around June 1st. See what's going on. A lot of these cities and states are reopening and stuff, which I kind of agree on some of it and kind of disagree on some. I'm happy to wait until the 16th of May, which is 17th of May, actually, which will be the first day where our state here in Louisiana would be open. I'm fine with that. I'd rather
Right.
be safe than sorry. But at the same time, I mean, I try to avoid the news, but it's kind of difficult not to watch what's going on. And there's so much protesting and so many people that are just sick and tired of, of not being able to do anything. I mean, I watched something earlier from because the state of Georgia opened up, and they were talking to different owners of spas and things like that, nail salons, stuff like that. And, I mean, then one of the guys they interviewed, he had a very valid point. It's like, look, people are fine walking around grocery stores, convenience stores, pharmacies, getting takeout food from restaurants and all these other things. He's like, why can't we, you know, just take every precaution possible and try to do this? I mean, if, at
Right.
some point in time, something's got to give. I mean, the world can't stay this way, for another year or something. It
No, of
just
course
can't.
not. Yeah, I don't think it. I
So
don't think it
when
will.
and we're very cautiously, extremely cautiously optimistic. But we're hoping that just it may be possible to do, even if it's not very profitable financially. It mentally, it would be a huge
Sure.
step for us and for the fans. To be able to get out and see live music and not be cooped up in our homes and scared, scared to walk next to somebody or something.
Sure. And I know you guys have had the 25 years of Down NOLA, the anniversary coming up, and kind of you had left Down for a while and now kind of got back into the band, at least to do this stuff, and maybe permanently, it sounds like, back in that band.
I mean, I'm guessing pretty much. I think it would be safe to say that if Down does anything in the future, which of course, unfortunately, all of our 25th anniversary stuff has been canceled. I won't
Right.
say postponed, but it's canceled. So, but yeah, I mean, I would love to do stuff. I really miss making music with the guys. It's, I don't ever see Down being all of our main, focus and main projects again. But yeah, I would love to do something with all the guys. So, um, basically, I mean, for Down right now, there's absolutely nothing planned in the future at all because everything got canceled and there's been no talk of any new music or anything. And
Right.
a lot has changed. It's going on 7 years since we parted ways back then. And I'm very honored, and it's a great feeling for the guys. They asked me to come back and do the 25th anniversary stuff. Although we're unable to do it, but I've talked to all the guys extensively, and I think that if we do anything in the future, I'll definitely be involved. And if we're able to do that, I absolutely look forward to it.
What's it like to reflect on that album? Like, it's such a classic now. I feel like it's, one of the greatest albums of all time, period, in the genre for sure. Like, how do you reflect on NOLA when you look back on it?
It puts a smile on my face. It really does, because it was so innocent and so it came together so quickly, and we didn't overthink anything. We didn't think about business and stuff like that. It was just five good friends jamming together and creating something original and new.
Absolutely.
So for me, it was some of the funnest stuff with Down. I mean, we've I think we've all grown up a lot, though. I mean, like, I think if we were to get in a room together, which we have not, I have not been in a room with the other four guys, and uh, since, since shit, July
At
of
least all together, I'm sure, right?
exactly. I mean, since we flew home from Europe on the last tour that I did, I haven't been together with all of the guys. I've seen them all, of course, but you know, but we're all on really good terms, which
It's
is a
great.
great thing. Um, so I mean, to me, it would be something, regardless. I mean, we have a legacy that we've already recorded and put out there for people, and it's something that I think we're all very proud of. So if we're able to continue to make music together, as far as new stuff, that's great. If we're not, it would still be fantastic to play shows,
Sure.
and just experience, jamming together, and for the fans as well. I mean, I think we have some really large, following of diehard Down fans.
Absolutely.
And I think it kind of helps us in a way that we're now Down is now back to what it originally was, which is a side project. Everyone else's other bands take priority, and I think that's takes a lot of pressure off, because when we decided to make Down our priority and our main band, all of us, honestly, some tension started to grow, and just
Well, you had a
button
lot
heads
of
on
other
things.
great bands that everybody was in that kind of then were backburnered, right? Which is probably hard overall with all the other musicians and everything.
I mean, absolutely, and that's a big part of it. But Pepper said it right, and he said it many times over the years, and it's true. He's like, what happens with Down is, um, when we get in a room together, you have five very strong personalities. You know, um, four of us, five guys, are basically band leaders. I mean, Phil, Pep, myself, and Jimmy Bauer are basically the leaders of the other bands that we're
Right.
in. Um, or at least for me, Crowbar, of course, not necessarily Kingdom of Sorrow, but um, so it does, it's the best of both worlds, but it's also sometimes a little overkill with everybody's confident in themselves, which is wonderful. There's nothing worse
Sure.
than people not having confidence to write, great songs and great riffs and whatnot. But at the same time, sometimes, it does cause a bit of tension.
Sure.
But I think we've all mellowed as we've grown older. So, um, you know, it's something I hope that we can do,
Now I'm
at some point in the future, and hopefully not too far off.
right. Now I'm curious. What you always hear people talk about the guitar rigs that were used on NOLA, and some people suggest it's Randall's. I've heard a lot of people over the years say JCM 800s, and I'm curious just to get it from you, like what gear, what guitar rigs were used to record NOLA.
I used a Marshall JCM 800 with two cabs, and a super overdrive with my gain only on about one or two, kind of a, good beefy, but pretty much clean tone.
Right.
Now I'm 99% sure that Pepper used a 212 Rivera amp with a Marshall or possibly a Mesa cab. Um, and he never uses any external type gain pedals or anything. I rather cut the gain on the amp back myself and then use the stomp box as a clean boost. I feel like it tightens the tone up better without adding any saturation. So, and the older I get, the more I go towards that. The gain
Right.
goes less and less on the amp, and
A-
the gain's down zero on the pedal. But
And so in Crowbar, the classic tone has always been these Randall RG100 ES amps. Is that correct?
yeah, it is. They've been on now on two on Symmetry in Black and on um, the Serpent Only Lies. The last two Crowbar records, we used the RG 3003, the newer model,
Okay.
which it's really close, but it's not it, and it's no disrespect to Randall whatsoever. So I can tell the tone difference on Sever the Wicked Hand, which was an old gray fur Randall RG 100 ES from
Yeah.
mid '80s, and on the new one we used an old gray fur one as well.
Oh, nice.
So
So how many of those do you have now? How many of those are RG100s?
I've got six. Well, I've got five RG 100 ESs, and I've got one RG 80 ES, which actually fucking screams, man.
Yeah, I
It's
had a
it.
couple of those back in the day.
Jimmy had one. Bauer had one when I got for a bit, and of course he and I we always joke, but we go, we can't be more different in the tone we're going for. Um, I want a tight, clean but tight but heavy and bottom endy kind of metal sound, metalish sound a bit. And he just goes for just wide open, just not gain necessarily because his tone's really not oversaturated. He doesn't use any distortion pedals or anything, but he just kind of plugs in and cranks everything up. But so we kind of go, for a different thing. But he had one of the RG 80 ESs, and he was using that for a while. And it for what he was doing, man, it screamed, and it
Yeah.
works for Crowbar, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean it's a
Mass.
classic Crowbar sound, and you've always used the Boss Metal Zone. I believe that's correct.
Well, that started on um shit around the Oddfellows rest time because
Okay.
honestly, Sammy Dewey from Godor, when he had joined Crowbar, he was using one.
Yep.
And then I got one, and I'm like, well, okay, I'm digging Sammy's tone, and he had the Randall, of course. He's still got his original old Randall
Yeah,
from.
he posted
He
it on
used that too,
Instagram.
yeah, from that. Oh, really, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got the old acid bath head, and he used that with Crowbar as well. Um, so, I kind of just started out with that pedal, and everybody laughs at it because it really is a pile of shit if you try to engage the EQ section or add any saturation or whatever. It's overkill. It's like a thing for. And no disrespect whatsoever, but if I was, 15 years old and had a little practice amp in my room, I'd probably love it.
Cranked. Yep.
You could scoop all the mid out and put a bunch of distortion, and at your immature ear, it sounds great, but in reality, we know it really doesn't.
Right.
But being the old man I am here, I started out with it, and I'm like, okay, I always put the level on 10 on any type of drive or gain pedal that I use. I put the level on 10. I said, all right, let me put my level on 10 and my EQ flat at 12 o'clock, and I'm gonna start with the distortion on 0. And if it doesn't have enough gain, I'll drive it up. Well, as soon as even with the overdrive on 0, it's still a hot pedal. So
Right.
um, what I did was, like I mentioned earlier, I cut the gain back on the amp a bit, and really, if you don't fool with the EQ and you're not engaging it, and it's basically just flat. With that level on 10 and that drive on 0, it doesn't add any more. Overdrive or anything to it. It just tightens up the
Tightens it
tone,
up.
and
Yeah.
it makes a huge fucking difference. I know it sounds weird, but it really does. It makes a huge difference.
And so, are you
It,
blending the channels on the amp too, or are you?
no, I'm. What do you mean by
Well, I think on those RG100s, you can run both channels
Oh
at the
yes,
same time.
yes. You mean, yeah, the clean,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I think channel 2, if I'm not mistaken, Jesus, I don't know by now. Channel 2 is the heavy channel.
Yeah.
So no, what I do is I take the volume and the gain or whatever the hell it is on channel 1. I put them both on 0.
I
I've
gotcha.
never actually used the channel switching pedals or any of that because I don't need any clean stuff. So I just use the heavy
Yep.
channel, and I have weird settings. I put the presence on 10. Um, I've always, ever since I first, like, owned my first Marshall that had a presence knob, I didn't even know what it was. So I hit a couple of chords, and I kept turning up the presence, and it sounded better as it went up. So, like, my settings on the Randall are, the presence is on 10. The bass is on about 8. The the treble and the mids are both around. Mids about 3.5 to 4, and treble's about 3.5 to 4.5, depending on the room. I put I run it at about 4.5 as far as my master volume level, and then I run my gain live normally around 7ish. Um, the thing with the presence that I didn't find, believe it or not, I didn't really understand this until a few years ago. When when you put the presence on 10, it's already given you a lot of high end and a lot of mid range. So I don't have to, it's already in there. So I don't have to run the mid and the treble on the amp so high. It's already in there with the presence on
Right.
10. If you cut the presence back to 0, then you really need to crank your mids and your treble to get the high, and the mid to cut through. But so that's just something I've always done, but it works for me. So I mean, that's pretty much my settings. It's probably the simplest rig in the world. So you know, I've gone back to that just with Crowbar. I mean, if I do anything with down, which, like we mentioned, of course, I hope we do, I will, down for me. I used Marshall for a long time. I used Randall for a while with it. It's almost like with down, we struck gold with the orange
Right.
stuff. So which I just still have a shitload of orange gear. It's just for Crowbar, it's always been the Randall, and I tried, I played live a couple of years, the last few years, using orange stuff, and it sounds great, but it's just not quite for Crowbar.
Using the
You
Crush
know,
120, I assume.
I was using that, and I actually bought, because they don't make them anymore. I use the TH100, which I bought myself off of eBay. That's how much I
Okay.
loved it. I
So
mean, I
a,
love the
a
amps.
tube head you did use with Crowbar live a bit.
Yes, for a
Okay.
couple of years. And the whole thing was, for me, the tube thing just never quite, worked for Crowbar. And the Orange Crushes are fantastic. Um, Probably, honestly, the only thing missing for me on that is the presence knob. If they had that on there, I could probably dial in an ideal tone, because it's extremely clear. It's a great solid state amp, no
It
doubt
is a
about
great
it.
solid state amp.
It
Yeah.
really is, and especially for the price, like for younger guys or
300
people on a
bucks.
tight budget.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you can get up for three to 400 bucks, and I mean, it's great. It really is. Um, It reminds me a lot of like the old Sun Beta Lead, or one of those. But it's a great amp. It's just for me. I mean, since the late '80s, really, it's been Randall for me with
Yeah.
Crowbar, and I tried to switch to Orange for Crowbar. It just doesn't quite work now. If Down gets in the room together, guess what? I'll be having my Orange shit crank.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm wondering. So in Crowbar, you're using B standard and drop A. Is that right?
Correct.
Are those the only two tunings you've ever used in that band?
Yep, that's it.
And then in down, you're C sharp standard. I think is that.
Yes, it would. And drop B. There's a lot of drop B. Most of the drop songs, actually, I think the only person that actually write any drop B riffs was Pepper. He does a lot of like with COC. They tune the D standard, I believe, so they drop the C on stuff.
Right.
But he's really good at writing shit with the drop stuff. He actually kind of. I was already doing it a little bit, but when we first started jamming together, um, which was '91 when we first started down. um, Bury Me in Smoke was probably one of the first songs that I really knew about the drop tuning thing. I'm like, wow, okay, so this opens up a whole new world for
Oh, that's pretty
Crowbar to
cool.
do.
That's great.
Yeah, he used a lot of. I've used some different tunings on particular songs. Like Kingdom of Sorrow, for instance, is also a B standard and drop A band.
Yeah, very
Um,
Crowbar sounding. Like the guitars all sound. It just sounds like a Crowbar record, kind of
yeah, I
in
mean
that sense.
it's the same exact everything, same exact rig, same exact tone, same
Yep.
exact tuning. So like Hatebreed, for instance, I believe they tuned the C standard, and Crowbar tunes to B standard, and I do the drop A. So like I told Justin when we first started the band, I just said, look, dude, I'm gonna fly up. Do you care what we tune to? And he's like, no, Crowbar tuning's fine. It's only from
Yeah.
difference
Close
between
enough.
Hatebreed and
Yep.
Crowbar is from C to B, no big deal. But yeah, the tone with Kingdom is it's Crowbar tone. It's
Yeah,
exactly
it's
the
pretty cool.
same everything. I don't change anything. Same guitars, same pickups, same tuning, same settings on the amps. So
And
that's
do
where
you
we
have a
stand with that.
favorite? You've changed guitars a lot through the years. We've seen you with different guitars. Is there a set of pickups you tend to favor?
I've gone back and forth, and it depends on the band. Like with Down, I kind of favor the passive stuff, like
Yeah.
Duncan Distortion, stuff like that. Maybe a JB or something, Duncan, Jeff Beck or something. But with Crowbar, I use EMG and a lot of stuff. I have some Fishman pickups in a couple of my guitars as well, which I love those as well. It's pretty much like six in one, I have dozen the other to me. They both sound great, but lately I've been favoring a bit more the EMG 81 for the bridge and the 85 for the neck. I've got that in a couple of my Explorers, and I've recently become a solar
Yeah, I
artist,
saw
which I'm
that
very
during
yeah,
our lesson. You
really
were playing a solar guitar.
yeah, yeah, it's beautiful, man. They sent me two of those, and I absolutely love it. Um, so those come stock with the 81 and 85 EMGs. So between that and the lock and tuning keys, which I put on all of my guitars, um, they have I don't know if their own brand or if it's I think it might be their own thing. To be honest, without my glasses on, I can't see what the fucking back of the tuning and locking tuning key says anyway. But yeah, I really love it. I was looking so forward to getting on the road with those guitars. So all I've really done since I've gotten them is do some rehearsals to go on tour, and now I'm doing lessons with it. But it's definitely sold me on it. Um, that I really feel comfortable and really feel like it's a great fit. I love the guitars. The neck feels great. The tone's great. They're really well made. It's a perfect fit for me because I had gotten to the point where I was buying guitars on eBay, like Explorers, older
Yep,
guitars, shit like that, which can get expensive
it
because
does.
what happened? I was really happy with the Ibanez stuff, the destroyers and my Iceman that my wife got me, But I just absolutely lost complete touch with anybody at Ibanez a couple of years ago, and I'm like, well, okay, I'll buy some more, shit off eBay,
Yep.
and but then, like I said, that gets expensive, and then honestly, the Explorers that I have, and the old, and even right now, I have two destroyers. And an Iceman at a really good friend, Danny, who's our tour manager over in Bremen, Germany, right there at his house right now. So it's two destroyers and an Iceman there, and then I got my
Nice.
Explorers here, and I use that in the studio. But the Solar sounds equally good. The Solar stuff, same pickups, and great, well made guitars. But it's kind of nice to be able to retire the Gibson stuff for just at home or whatever, and
Yep.
with the artist deal with
Sure.
Solar, to be able to get out there and play those live, and beat the shit out of those, and you know and promote it. So I feel bad in a way. Of course, it's no fault of mine or anyone else's, but the whole Solar family, the whole company was really into having me as an artist, and I was like, man, I'm so happy. This is great. So I'm like, look, I'm gonna have my wife take 1,000,000 pictures. We're gonna blow this up when we're on tour, blah 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 blah. And then we couldn't go on tour, so I'm gonna wait a little longer till things clear up, and then get in touch with them about everything, and try to get some photos and stuff to them for the page. But yeah, man, I'm 100% happy with the Solar stuff. In fact, every day that I play it, I love it more, and that's the truth. I'm getting more and more the feel where if I close my eyes, I know I'm at my fretboard. I know how to bend the string. If I'm bending from an A to a B or something, I know how to bend that without even looking at it. I can feel it, which comes accustomed. It just comes along with like getting so used to the guitar that
Yep.
all the little different nuances and whatnot. So when you can do all of that shit without any effort, really, when it becomes second nature, well, then that's perfect, and that's where the way I feel right now, with the way I am with the guitars.
And speaking of tour, obviously the Crowbar tour was canceled, and I think you guys have been selling. Well, I know I picked up a long sleeve. I know you guys have been selling some of the tour merch that you were gonna have on that tour, and so I just want to make sure everybody knows where to go check that out, because you guys had tons of cool shit in the merch
Yeah,
store.
we got a lot of stuff. Martyrstore.net is our only official Crowbar page. If it doesn't come from artiststore.net, or it doesn't come from Robin and I, my wife, then it's not official. But primarily, we do like we've been trying. What we did is we went ahead and sent all that stuff to Marta Store, and they've been selling the tour shirts, which I believe are sold out now. But we have a lot of other items as well for the tour that we weren't able to, obviously, to take out on the road. But yeah, motorstore.net is definitely the first and foremost go-to spot. Like with Robin, my wife had put a new bundle thing this evening with my solo album, the
I
Dream in
saw
Motion
that.
shirt and the CD. So stuff like that is stuff we do out of the house here, and she's great at really keeping up with it and getting everything out, on time, and all that kind of stuff. So, you know,
Well, I'll make sure to have links to all of that down in the description of the podcast and the YouTube video for this, so people can go check it out and pick up some official Crowbar merch.
awesome, man. I truly appreciate that. These days, everything else, like I said, we're doing it one day at a time, and just hoping and praying for the best.
Yeah, man, and yeah, so I definitely want to book another couple lessons with you, and maybe do a down
Absolutely, man.
song and a Crowbar song, and so I'll be in touch with you for that. But again, I just want to thank you for being here on the podcast tonight. It was
Thank you,
super
man.
fun,
Thank
man,
you so much.
and
I
yeah,
appreciate it.
we'll be in touch.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it very much. Thank you, and thanks to all the fans out there, and everybody stay safe, man.
All right, Kirk, thank you.
Thank you, bro. All
See
right.
ya. Bye. Once again, my name is Steve Reese, and you have been listening to the Does It Doom podcast. I definitely recommend you take advantage of this unique opportunity to sit down with Kirk for a one-on-one guitar lesson. It's just a hell of a cool experience, and definitely check out their merch shop if you haven't yet, because it is stocked up with some killer shit. You could find links to both down in the description. I want to send out a big thank you to everyone who supports the channel over on Patreon, with a special thanks to all of our Riff Lord tier producers. So until next time, always remember, Tony Iommi is your friend.